seconds
I'm
because of the
check.
delay.
Okay. Yeah. Now we are live, I think. Let's see.
That's I'm so eager to see Simon on his own stream. Yes, it is live now on your
It
stream.
is?
It's loading up now.
That's
Yeah,
great. That's great. Yeah, we're
awesome.
live.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do another introduction. A little delay, a little 15-minute delay, technical issue. Sorry about that, guys. It's the first time that we're actually doing a 4-people stream, and not last week, 2 weeks ago, it worked just fine with Mike and Simon. So I think it's because of Corey. America again. It's America again.
America's fault. Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing American.
Everybody hates America.
Yeah, I don't really understand, but yeah. Anyway, welcome to the stream, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are once again. So all 4 channels are live now, it looks like, and we are very happy about that. So once again, let's talk about today's topic, which is materialism in China. We started with question number 1, but we had some technical difficulties, so we're gonna go over that question again and the answer shortly. We're gonna give short answers about it. If you would like to rewatch the answers, probably if you surf around our channels, you can find the beginning of the live stream somewhere. Yep, just ride the wave. So question number 1 was, is China the most materialistic country you have ever lived in your life? So let's try to keep the answers, short, because we actually have a lot of questions and a lot of topics to go through today. So it was actually Mike who hasn't answered yet. So Mike, do you think that China is the most materialistic country? I mean, you lived abroad, so you can compare it to other places.
Yeah, I'm now living in Sweden, and I was in Australia for several years. I can't say China is the most materialistic country over the world, but as a Chinese, I understand we bring this topic, like Chinese treat money in a very different, weird way. For example, like you guys talk about, like girls love bags and luxury things, etc. If in a Chinese company, and if you are claimed like you are a rich guy in the office or something, you will be treated better than the others, because those like flattery guys want to make friends with you and maybe can get some benefit from you. Do you understand what I'm saying? And things like, if you are rich in the office and everybody see you like you don't really need this job for surviving, and you know you just treat it like a hobby in the office, and your boss is not that dare to fire you sometimes. Do you understand the logic behind? Because you have money and you don't really care. But if you are like you really living on this salary and you have a heavy mortgage lending, you have to return the loan or something, then they can do whatever they do on you because you really need the job, So this kind of things. But I don't really experience it in Sweden. Also not experiencing in Australia. And so because in Sweden, I mean, the salary has some like kind of certain range. So if you are a manager, your salary is almost maybe doubled than the others, but you can not earn like 5 times than the others, this kind of things.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Mikey. Yeah, that's a really good explanation, and it's a really good opinion as well, in my opinion. Simon, do you agree, disagree with Mike, or do you have a different opinion?
Yeah, I think Mike's makes sense. Yeah, his comments make
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. What's your, like short answer again, for the viewers that just joined us on your channel that, missed the beginning of the stream because of the technical issue. So, are Chinese people the most materialistic, or is China the most materialistic country you have ever lived in?
So first of all, hey guys, thank you so much for coming to the streaming today. And for me, to be honest, I can only say it from my own experience because I actually spent majority of my time in China, and I lived in the US for like 2 or 3 years now. Currently, I am in Taiwan for 2 to 3 months. So I'm gonna say, compared to the other two places, like mainland China, definitely is probably the most materialistic place I have ever lived. There are a lot of evidence, but I think the most one is that people in China, they work really hard. Or you would say people in China, they like working overtime. Like in Taiwan or in America, I don't think anyone worked that hard. I also been to UK for a while, actually for like 2 weeks, and then during the weekend you can't find any bar open, and that kind of thing will never happen in China. And in Taiwan, I also got surprised like several days ago. There was a very popular restaurant in the city center of Taipei, and like they only open for like 5 days, and the other 2 days they just gonna remain closed. I was completely shocked. Like, how can you just go like take some break like twice
Yeah.
a week, right? And you have to pay that huge amount of rent. And for me, as a Chinese, I probably won't be able to understand that.
Absolutely. Corey, what about you? What do you think, are Chinese people the most materialistic? Is China, a materialistic country in your opinion? Just, a shortish answer again, if you don't mind.
Short answer from what I've seen, I do think so. Again, as I said before, I think it's probably because China has become very rich recently, or at least a lot of people have. And I think when a country progresses from an aspect of being pretty poor, and you get a lot of rich people, I think that people are excited about that. I think people are happy that they can have nice things. And again, if I had $20 million, I would probably drive a really expensive car too. I mean, why not, right? So I don't think it's something that is just a China thing. But I think it is a thing that is really looked up to in China, again, because of the history. But yeah, I think it's pretty materialistic. But again, I lived in Guangzhou, and as a foreigner that lived in Guangzhou, a tier 1 city, I did live in a nice area, so it was very common for me to see also. So that's my view on it, really.
Absolutely, that's awesome. So we have loads of people watching us now. So again, good morning to you guys. Make sure that you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channels if you would like to see more China content from us. We are all making China related content. So we try to keep you guys entertained as much as we can. So yeah. Now my short answer regarding this question. Is China the most materialistic country? Are Chinese people really materialistic? Short answer, yes, I think so. I think they are very materialistic. But then again, I had experience in the UK, and I think it might sound a little sexist, but I think it's only just women that are Corey's losing it. Yeah. So I think it's more like a girl thing, that they care about the designer bags and the designer clothes. In my opinion, like personally, I don't really care about designer stuff. As you can see, I'm wearing a Zhonghua leaning T-shirt, so that's not designer clothes. That's like Nike in America or Adidas in Europe. So it's not designer. It's a sports brand. So. Do you know what I mean? Personally, I'm not very materialistic, and I never really cared about money. So, but once you're in China, you can get infected with this mindset that money is king, and money can buy you everything, which is kind of true in China. Like, most things can be solved with money, in my opinion. And, for example, drink driving, which is very serious in China. I'm a driver myself in China. I drive my own car here. And, many people ask me, like, do you keep money in your car when you're out? And I asked them, like, why would I keep money in my car? Like, I don't want anyone to break into my car and steal, money if I have in it. And they said the reason why you should keep money is if you go out and if you drink with your friends, then you want to drive home. And if you get stopped, you want to bribe the policeman. So that's one way how, money becomes important in China. And, I personally know a guy who bribed the policeman before because he was drink driving. I mean, he wasn't like, massively over the limit. He had like 3 beers. So the sensor showed that he had, not much, but he was still over the legal limit, because in China, this limit is very, very low. So even if you have like, a beer and a half, you're still going to be over the limit, and they're going to pull you over, and they can actually take your license away for that. While as in England, you can have, a couple of beers and you can still drive just fine, and nobody bats an eye, right? England, best country in the world. You can do drink.
Well, I want to add on something.
Sure.
I think situation changes between province to province. If you are in Shanghai, if you are like drunk driving, for sure you cannot bribe the policeman, and the policeman will never take the money. So I think in China it's quite big. In some western province, maybe you can do this.
Maybe
also.
some 3rd or 4th tier cities, like policemen don't get paid a lot, so they might take the risk. But in Shanghai, I was saying, I don't think anybody dare to take the money from you guys, because first of all, they get paid pretty decent, and second of all, usually there will be a squad, like 3 or 4 people, if they want to try to catch the drunk driver. So, and most of the time they will have those like record cam on their shoulder. So probably won't take that risk.
What about you, Corey? Have you had any experience with driving in China, or riding a motorbike or anything like that?
So a little driving. I didn't like it in China. I just didn't like driving. Guangzhou is very hectic. A lot of cars. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if it would work in Guangzhou to bribe a police officer there, but I know. Like in Foshan next to Guangzhou, a lot of stuff happens there that flies there that just wouldn't happen in Guangzhou. Like black taxis and all of that stuff. Like if you try to do that in Guangzhou, like they really do get on black taxis and things like that in Guangzhou. So I think if you tried to bribe a police officer in Guangzhou, I think you would be making a mistake. But yeah, I agree. I think in some of the smaller places in China, sure, it probably happens, right? It has to.
Absolutely,
so, yeah.
Absolutely. So let me just read a couple of comments from you guys, from your channels. So I'm on Simon's at the moment, and somebody asked, why don't you guys talk about a certain place in China starting with a T? There are very good reasons. Obviously, Simon and Mike, they are both Chinese. Simon is not in China right now. Mike is, and I am in China as well. And that is a sensitive topic. And that's the reason why we don't talk about it. We don't want to get in trouble. One of the main reasons why we don't talk about it is because we are not there. We don't know too much about it. So we don't want to say things that we are not familiar and comfortable with. And I think all 4 of us and I think all 4 of us can agree on this one, that we don't want to talk about things that we are not familiar with and we don't know much about. And I think that is a very reasonable thing to do, and it's probably a very mature thing to do as well. And I talked about this in my in my last video, little self-promotion, that, you know, I don't want to talk about things that I don't know too much about. And, you know, some people pointed out that, oh, that's a very mature thing to do. I don't think it's a mature thing. It's just a logical thing to do, and it's common sense. Like, you know, I'm not going to talk about, you know, America and American politics because I never lived there. I don't know too much about it, and it's not, you know, down my alley. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't really like to talk about things that I'm not familiar with. I don't know if you guys feel the same way or you feel differently.
So you're being logical, is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's logic. It's
I saw a message from my channel.
Sure.
John Hurty said, "Could you guys explain the word 土豪? If you guys understand this word, like
Wow.
uneducated Chinese rich entrepreneur or something."
Entrepreneur. Yeah, I think those 土豪 probably usually have two meaning. The first is like they are rich, and the second of all, they probably become successful because of some connection, luck, or anything else. Or maybe their personal effort, but usually it means like they're still uneducated, or they lack a certain type of knowledge. Right. Yeah. So it's a negative word. Usually it means, hey, if somebody call you 土豪, it means, hey, you have money, but you probably don't have a very good education background, or you're not intelligent at all.
I give you an example. When I was studying in Australia, I got like classmates from China, and their parents are from like Shanxi province. They own a coal mining or something, and they just spend money like sending leaves. And he was like ran into my face, show me a luxury Rolex watch. He said, "Since I graduated from the language center, my dad sent me this one, which is cost like almost 200k RMB. So this is some kind of example, do you know? Like when they reach some small target, they spend money to celebrate, which is ridiculous."
I remember like on Weibo when people were talking about, you know, using that word a lot, because it was kind of a word that like people kind of used for a while on Weibo, and people were talking about like, you know, 土豪金. They were talking about like the golden iPhone, and like everybody was like buying golden iPhones, like the case. And I'm like, why does everyone have this golden iPhone? And then people were showing me Weibo, and I'm like, this is crazy. It was just like an overnight like sensation on Weibo or something.
I mean, the 土豪金thing shows like those rich people has like very bad taste, you know, when they comes to spend money.
Absolutely. And the other thing, what Corey just said, you know, about the golden iPhone, it's you know, trends in China can get out of hand very quickly, like very, very, very fast. For example, a couple of years ago, there is a chain brand called Happy Lemon, and they are selling like, you know, tea, like Chinese tea, and you know, bubble tea, and like these big, like, you know, plastic cups or whatever. It's called Happy Lemon, and you know, it went viral on Weibo, and ever since then, people are going crazy for Happy Lemon. I just remembered because they opened a new shop in Jilin City, so that's one of the reasons, you know, why I think that you know, things like that go viral can get out of hand pretty fast. But yeah, anyway, let's move on a little bit, and you know, let's nitpick some comments from the channels. Corey, do you want to you know, lift someone out from the comment section from your side?
Oh, let me look here and see what someone, if someone has any question or anything, maybe
Sure.
I can kind of find something. Maybe if someone else has something, I'll look really fast and then come back around to me.
Sure. Simon, I mean, you have the most viewers on your channel, so do you want to, have a look and, pick
Yeah, for sure.
something?
Let's see. Somebody asked me my opinion about Barrett. I did a video with Barrett, and I think Barrett genuinely liked China. And since Barrett and me, we are kind of friends, so I'm not in the position of making comments about him. Hopefully, in the future, I can make a video about those pro-China YouTubers. But now, I think let's just move on. So, do you think controlling what people say will control what people think? Yeah, absolutely. I think brainwash is definitely a thing. If I keep telling you the same thing over and over, you're probably gonna believe it. If everyone around you keep telling you the same thing, and all the information you get only tell you one side of the story, and for sure, I would say 99% of the people are gonna believe what they've been told. And it's all about viewership. You go talk about Tibet, you're in trouble. It depends on what you talk about, and yeah. I think let's just move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick question here from your channel, Simon. So Peyton says, Zach, how can you climb the wall and access YouTube like this? That's how I climb.
Yeah. So you use a VPN, and
You can't say that.
Oh, really? So, I think here, the word is getting more and more sophisticated. But basically, if you are trying to access those foreign websites in China, most of the time the VPN helps you to encrypt your message and send it to a different IP, which is not on that blacklist. So then it helps you to, to do the packet transformation.
Absolutely. All right. So next thing that we're going to talk about is examples in China that shows Chinese people love making money. So can you guys share some examples that shows that Chinese people love making money? Anyone wants to go first, or yes, Corey, tell me.
I think one thing.
Sorry, tell us. Sorry, it's not everything about me.
No, I think one thing that's interesting about Chinese people is that, and this is probably because of the technology in China too, is that anyone can kind of be a salesman, right? So you'll see girls on like WeChat, like selling clothes and purses, and you'll see all kinds of people that have like their own small little business type situation. And again, that's great because it's so easy to accept money in China. Here in America, like, hey, dude, can you give me your debit card? Like, you can't easily run someone's debit card. In China, it's just so easy to send someone money. You can literally just stand on the side of the road and have a WeChat QR code, and you can buy and sell things. And that's what, like, I think a lot of Chinese people do. They make extra money by doing that. I know that for a long time, my wife's sister made more than my wife just selling clothes, on WeChat. And my wife's, like, her pay as a Chinese person is quite high. And it was crazy to think that, she could just sell clothes. But she would buy crazy things. She would never buy, like, save the money, which is strange for Chinese people. But yeah, I just think that, you have that opportunity in China too. Sure.
Absolutely. Mike,
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah. In China, like in the other countries, like if you want to ask a friend to come out and have a cup of beer, and you, in the most of the time, you won't like why just myself pop up?
I put you up there. Don't worry. We're all here. We can all hear you and see you. It just makes more sense to put you in the front, so people can see who's talking.
Yeah. So okay. So it is quite easy to gather like colleagues and friends come out to have a cup of beer without any purpose. But in China, if I contact like my old classmate 10 years ago, we knew each other in the college. In the most of the case, they say I'm busy. But if you say like I have a business want to talk about. If you are willing to come out, and we can figure out how to like export products to Sweden or something, then they come out, And in the most of time when you introduce a new friend to someone else, and if you say this guy is the boss of some company, then it's much more easy for you to make friends. So, I mean, everyone, at least in Shanghai, in the megacity, is looking for something related to the money to earn money, Otherwise,
Absolutely.
they do not have time to for those kind of activities. So that's my example.
Sure, sure. Simon, anything that you would like to add to this one?
You mean any experience, like
Yeah.
to
Example.
prove? Okay. So I think there are quite a lot of example. The first one will be the value system in China. So if you, the definition of being successful in China mostly will be related to how much money you make and what kind of college you graduate and how many houses or apartments you have. If you ever be involved in a conversation with like Chinese old aunties, like Chinese RE, then most of the time they will talk about, hey, how many apartments you got and what, how much you get that apartment and how much money your kids get and what kind of college they go to. So I think that is a very good indicator of like how materialistic we are. So basically, the daily conversation only we only talk this kind of topic in our daily conversation, right? So we I don't think we talk anything else. Well, of course we talk anything else about traveling, like recent issues. But I would say most of the time you hear those RE talking about their real estate property plan in the future and about stock market. So I think that's one of the indicator. So yeah.
Yeah, I have something to add on to Simon's
Okay.
comments.
Yeah.
When you talk about stock market, in the year 2007 or the year 2015, when the stock market surged to growth quickly, then a
Mhm.
lot of uncles and aunties, whether they understand the stock exchange or not, they flood into the stock market to buy something without any research or pre-investigation on the company. So it is some kind of speculation when you can easily earn money in China, then all those kind of people will follow you. That's why we had some kind of issues for, I think it's what's that called? P2P.
Yeah, peers to peers. Yeah, loaning. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the place that like the majority of the Chinese people get frauded. So this is just some add-on.
Sure, sure. Corey, do you have anything to add about this one?
Yeah, I think materialism also in Chinese culture can also is a part of Chinese culture in some sense because as a guy, a lot of girls will request it, like maybe you have a house or maybe that you have a car or something like that, and maybe if you don't have that, it could be issues because especially like for me, for someone that lived in Guangzhou, there was a lot of guys that were great guys, right? Like they worked hard, they were nice people, and because they couldn't get a house, because the cost of a house in Guangzhou is maybe it's not Shanghai, right? But it's pretty high. And so a lot of those guys would struggle to find girlfriends even because, the woman wouldn't even give them the time of day, And I remember there were times, like there was this instance where like people were advertising relationships in parks, and they were saying things like, oh, my son, he has a house and he has a car. I think that's something that's very deep rooted in Chinese culture, and probably because of safety, poverty. I think Chinese people really depend on having a house. It's like the first safety measure. Whereas if in America, maybe there's a lot of people that just prefer renting. So I think it's a form of materialism even.
Yeah. Also, just to add on to that one, the dating thing in China. So some places they have these parks where the aunties and the uncles go out to play as a matchmaker, and they take this like piece of paper with their grandsons or granddaughters, like picture and details saying like how much this person makes, what kind of salary they can expect, what sort of materials they already have. And that's one way to kind of show off and show the belief in materialism, in my opinion.
In
Sure,
the
Mike.
Western in the Western country, maybe the salary is some kind of like privacy. You always keep away from the topic. But in China, like in the majority of time, those aunties and aunties will ask you, what is your salary? And that might be a culture shock to the foreigners who just arrived in China.
Absolutely.
And I have a subscriber bring up this real estate questions also, because I think nowadays, if you in the first tier city, if you are just like doing a regular job, the real estate is too expensive for you to afford. In Shanghai, it goes to like 5 million RMB to 8 million RMB if you want to still living in the suburb, or not the city center. The city center is like super crazy now. So for the ordinary people, if you just earn like in Shanghai, it's relatively higher than the other provinces or cities. It's like around 8,000 to 15,000, but it is still very difficult for a guy who working like 9 and 6 and to try to afford this kind of apartment. And the mortgage lending interest rate is very high compared to the other countries, because in Sweden I pay like 1 point some percent for my total loan, and every month I can just cover it, no problem. But in China, if you take those commercial loan, it goes up to 6% or something. And we do have a house fund. It's called Gongzhijing. This one is relatively lower than the commercial loan, but you still have to pay 4.5 or something. I'm still paying it until now. So this is the situation in Shanghai, and maybe it's reflecting to the majority of the big cities. Yeah,
absolutely. So let's move on to the next thing. So there was a comment here that I couldn't bring up because it was on someone else's channel. And it says, do you guys want to talk about the effect of materialism combined with nationalism? Now, that is a very interesting question. And basically, it means, the whole thing about China being, great and the government being the best for the reasons that people are rich. So this is something that I think we can talk about. I don't think we're gonna receive any backlash about this. So when you combine materialism with nationalism, what do you think? What do you get? Is it a very narrow mindset, or are people going to focus on other things as well, or people just going to stay closed-minded and just focus on materialism and believe that the country is the best, and because of that they can have all these materials. Corey, what do you think? Do you want to tackle this one first?
Sure. I think one thing is that China has really come a long ways. In the time that I was there, Guangzhou grew immensely. And I think one thing that was very interesting was that there's a lot of rich companies in China. There's quite obviously the government is very rich in China, but the government being rich and companies being rich is not exactly the same thing as people being rich. And while Chinese people are getting richer, there's still a lot of Chinese people that aren't rich. So I think a lot of Chinese people like to say, well, look at all the beautiful things that we have. Look at all the beautiful things that we've built. And, it's kind of in America, a lot of times people care less about that. They're more concerned about my space and my house and my stuff, right? And so I think it does become a part of nationalism. And I think that the only issue with it is that a lot of the stuff that are beautiful in China that are not natural, of course, there's a lot of natural beauty there too. A lot of the things are either companies or either, again, Big Brother, right?
Absolutely. Simon, do you want to explain your opinion about this?
So I think nationalism, there's a huge piece of nationalism is actually coming from materialism, because China is not a let's say democratically elected government, right? So they lack a certain type of legitimacy to tell people that we should govern the country. So usually they will say they will choose this materialism to prove that they are being successful in China. So I think you guys probably heard this quite often, like whenever there's some problem, some thing happening in China, or someone makes some criticism about China, then even the government and a lot of people, they will make that excuse. But China have lifted 1.4 billion people out of the poverty, but there's a huge economic development within the past 30 years. So they sometimes use this materialistic achievement to justify some of the things they failed to do, or they try to justify their legitimacy. So I'm gonna say, especially nowadays, you can hear more and more from our official media that they always talk about this. Usually, they try to boost their nationalism. They always use some like materialistic footage, like skyscrapers, fancy public infrastructure, stuff like that, and like military power. So I think nationalism and materialism, they're correlated with each other in China.
Absolutely. Mikey, anything you would like to add to this one?
Yeah, I think the definition about rising of the country is quite simple. Like when in the school, you always hear those kind of story, like 100 years of humiliation from the colonizer, period, and our country was like really poor. That's the reason that why we were defeated or something, and then now we are getting richer and richer. Then it's the time to fight back or something like this. This is the basic theory of those nationalists has. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so that,
So Mikey, there is a question on your channel that you would like to bring up. Do you want to ask Simon this question?
Materialism on Chinese. Okay. Yeah. So, what Simon? The question is, what do you think about different values in Taiwan?
Different values in Taiwan. Well, I would say Taiwan and mainland China, they share a lot of similarity, because they most of them share the same roots. So when I come here, I don't feel ordinary life. I don't feel too much differences, but yes, indeed, there is some difference, which is quite hard to explain in a short period of time. But I'm gonna say people here, they are more. I'm making a generalization. It might offend a lot of people, but I would say most of the time you feel people are more civilized here. So yeah, especially compared to.
Oh dear.
I just heard somebody's feeding. Damn, it risky. So especially in in China, it's a large place, so we have third, fourth tier city, and if you ever go to a very populated place, sometimes it will be quite chaotic, right? A lot of people, they don't follow the line, but in Taiwan, you will never experience that. Everybody is following the rule. I would say sometimes I feel the order we have is even better than a lot of Western country. So, and also in Taiwan, I feel people more, they tend to enjoy their life more often. I mean, in Shanghai, I feel like people are the past in Shanghai is very fast. Like people just go there, go here, and they work. They're willing to work overtime. But in Taiwan, I feel like people are enjoy their life more than people from China, I would say. But that's just my short experience. I only lived here for like 2 or 3 months, and there are a lot of uh, differences for sure. But yeah, let's just.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So let me just, cherry, excuse me, let me just cherry pick a comment from Corey's channel. 4 seasons, one family. Sorry, 4 Cs, one family says, thank you for putting this together, Zach P. You don't need to thank me. You need to thank these guys that they're willing to put up with me. And, and then nothing, no, it's not about you, Corey. Just because he is your subscriber, that doesn't mean it's about you, man. But yeah, thank you guys for joining this live stream and willing to talk about this topic. I mean, some people pointed out that we are competing against another stream. I don't know who they are talking about. I don't know. Do you guys know who they are talking about? Is there another stream about China? Are there other YouTubers about China? Personally, I don't know any of them.
You mean the
Um,
Canton show?
Oh, something to say. I don't think that this is a competition at all, and the reason for that is because all of us have very different ideas and very different views. You've got a British guy here, and you've got an American, and you've got two Chinese people, and to be honest, like we're not going to sit around and circle jerk each other. We have our own opinions.
I think
So,
that means different thing, right?
right. I don't feel like we're competing with anyone. I feel like we're doing something different in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely not a competition. If people think that we are competing against each other, then that's just the wrong mindset.
No. Hey Zach, I think your audience means, are we competing with other people who are doing the stream at the same time?
Yes.
Do I understand the question right?
Yes, that's the one. So I don't think we are competing against another stream or other people or even against each other. For me, it's not a competition. I do YouTube because I enjoy doing it, and it's a hobby for me. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but for me, it's just a hobby. I'm not even monetized, and I'm very far from it, so I don't really care about it personally. So definitely not a competition for me. Anyway, let's not waste time on this one. I think we explained this very well. I'm winning. You are absolutely winning, in my opinion. Now, some pros of materialism. I mean, we only talked about the negative things and why being materialistic is a bad thing. Why is it a good thing that you can afford the latest Huawei phone, or you can afford the latest, I don't know, Apple laptop or whatever? Why is it a good thing that you can buy things? What good does it do for you? Is there a good side of being materialistic? I know it's a difficult question, but I think there are some positives that we can highlight about materialism. I can see you guys are thinking very, very hard. Like think tanks.
Can I go
Mike?
first?
Absolutely.
I mean, the positive side is during this 30 years open up of our country, I do really see the improvement of our living standard for sure. Like when I was a kid, I was living in 10 square meter apartment without sanitation. You have to go to the public toilet to take a dump or something. So within this decades and decades, of course it is helped by the other countries, like USA is the most, I think. Our country is getting richer and richer, and now we have the ability to access all those modern stuffs. Before it wasn't. When I was a kid, it was hard for me to buy a Transformer toy actually in China. It will cost almost 1 month of my parents' salary. But now you have all these things that you can afford with. So this is the positive side for sure. If you want to deny or not, it's the fact. And before, I can say 99% of the Chinese people has no car. Now you see those cars everywhere. So, and for those old neighborhood, you don't even have a space to park a car. So that's the positive side.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I completely agree with Mike. I think having a certain degree of materialism is good, because if you don't have materialism at all, like everybody is about spiritual, then nobody gonna work, right? I mean, for the past 30 years, those economic achievement is not achieved by only the leadership of the government, but by everyone's hard work. So if people don't care about money, then nobody gonna come here and work 24/7 in construction site. And how do we build those bridges, public infrastructure over 2 or 3 years, while those kind of construction might be completed for 20 or even 30 years in some developed country, right? So I think there is no doubt that having that's the good side or positive side of materialism. Because
Absolutely.
indeed, for the past 30 years, especially for us, ordinary Chinese people, we can see the improvement economic-wise, and yeah.
Yeah, like you said, I also have to agree with Mike on this one, and it's to some degree, yeah, you need to be materialistic, and you need to have this mindset that I need these things, because sometimes things become necessary. They become have to things. For example, a phone, having a phone, in 2020 is a have to material. You must have it, otherwise you can't live. In most of China, using Alipay or WeChat is something that you can't avoid, and the only way that you can do it is by having a phone. So that is a material that you must have. Having a house is another material that you must have. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should buy a house, but everybody needs a place to live in. So even if you are renting, that is kind of yours. You are the one living in it. You're not outright owning it. And in China you can't really outright own a house. So I think you know what I mean by this. But then having designer bags and all of those things, these are not necessary materials. So there is a very fine line with this one. I don't need a Gucci bag, but I need a phone. If it's an expensive one, then that means I can afford it, but I need a phone either way. And then it's down to my personal choice and decision if I want to get an expensive one or if I want to get the cheapest one and probably replace it in 6 months. So personal choices. Corey, what do you think about this? Are there any other pros regarding materialism?
Yeah, I think I can agree. Materialism is a requirement, and the reason that it's a requirement is because, as an example, when a lot of foreigners, when we come to China, you'll hear them like whining and complaining. They'll say, "Oh, there's no toilet paper in the bathroom," right? Because that's like a very basic expectation in the West, right? And that's something in China that people have adapted and kind of worked around. Everyone carries, toilet paper essentially in their pocket because they realize that, it's not going to be there when you go to the bathroom. But it's definitely changing in China, right? Like in Guangzhou, there are so many places now that you can go that because, probably Chinese people got tired of it, right? They're like, there should be toilet paper in the bathrooms. And I'm sure they've complained and they've pushed, and now you can go to a mall or whatever, and there will be toilet paper there, right? So there has to be that standard. So I think that that's something too, is materialism is not just about, I'm not taking away from what anyone is saying, but it's not always about Gucci bags. You have to have that standard also, of course, a minimum standard. And I think that's one of the shocking things, again, to foreigners, is when we come to China and some of those basic things that maybe foreigners are not used to, when they don't get that, it's very different, right? It's just very different.
Absolutely. Actually, I have an example for you guys. In China, it is hard to buy deodorant sticks like this one. So that is a kind of material that, I can't live without. You guys won't understand, Simon and Mike, because, Chinese people, they don't sweat apparently.
No, I think it is.
Oh, sorry, I was racist again. God
popular
damn it. Now
China.
I'm going to get cancelled.
Yeah, I think a small fraction of people do need to use deodorant in China. So, we have some old mindset that's saying having a certain type of smell is bad. But now as we got more and more developed, so people actually tend to be open about that. So actually, if you go to a 7-Eleven or Family Mart, you can actually find these type of amenity. Maybe in a third-tier city, it's still not available, but for sure in Shanghai, you can actually find it everywhere. It's quite popular, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, that is one kind of material I must have. Otherwise, people gonna they won't get closer to me because they will think I smell bad or something like that. I don't know. It's just a foreign problem. People talking about all the foreign privilege, but this is a problem that we are facing as foreigners because we smell like shit. So anyway, there are loads of comments to go through. Freestyler 39 says, is Corey starting a GoFundMe for his legal fees against a certain lawsuit in China? So it's gonna start on GoFundMe.com / Corey's fund for legal fees. I believe so. If you want to donate your last pennies, go ahead and do it.
Please,
because he needs it. Anyway, let's not drift off topic. Let's move on a little bit. What are the reasons? Why do people become materialistic? Why do some Chinese people become so materialistic that they think that they need to buy, the 10th Gucci bag and the second Ferrari and the third Lamborghini and the 5th, G-class Merc? Why do they need to get to that level? What's the reason? Why do they want to, get a second Ferrari when you can only sit in one at a time? What's the reason? Why do people hoard these things? That's the right word. That's what I was looking for. So why do people want to get like 3 iPhones, for example, at the same time? What's the reason behind it? Corey, what do you think?
I think in Chinese society, I think being rich and wealthy is something that is perpetuated a lot. Like if you watch Chinese TV, especially girls for like dramas and things, like it's always rich people. Like all the people are rich. They rarely have like that that like really poor guy that the girl falls in love with, you know. I just think that like, you know, it's just something that people see all the time. And again, I think it's also about a lot of the history too. Is people have started to get rich in China, but I think again, you see it a lot on television. Of course, you see it a lot on signs. To me, it's a lot like Los Angeles is in America. You know, you go to Los Angeles and like it's way different than the rest of America in a sense. You know, people there maybe are more stylish, more materialistic, and I just think it's the same way. I think if you're in Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai, you're probably going to see more materialism in those places.
Absolutely. Just a little disclaimer before we move on to you, Simon and Mike. Obviously, this doesn't apply to every single Chinese person, and we are not generalizing. You know, we are talking about, you know, maybe the top, I don't know, 5%, 2%. I don't actually know. I don't have any numbers, so I'm just taking a wild guess. But we are talking about people that can actually afford these things. We are not talking about, you know, the country as a whole and, you know, the auntie down the road, you know, picking the trash can afford a Ferrari, because, you know, that would be stupid. Like, you know, I don't think any of us are stupid here, and, you know, we want to generalize like this. Anyway, Simon, do you want to share your point and your opinion on this question?
Like I mentioned before, like in China, materialism is the whole definition of, or actually, being rich is the whole definition of being successful. So I think that's also one of the reasons why when people have one or two houses, they keep buying more, because more house means more successfulness you will have, right? And same goes with those luxury stuff. People buy it so they can kind of like showing off to their friends or their pals, like, hey, I got 3 or 4 Rolexes and I got a private jet, stuff like that. So I mean, in China, the issue is that we don't have anything to value for. So most of the time, you and your friend, you guys stay each other. You always talk about some material you have, either it's a house or a beautiful girlfriend or stuff like that. So it's sad. It's largely due to the current system we have, I think. So, but I also think there's another type of materialism that is a lot of people who stay under the poverty line. You can see a lot of people, they work extremely hard, right? They are willing to work overtime in the factory. And I think it is also due to the welfare system we have, because in China we don't actually have a very good welfare system. So people are just on their own. So if you are rich, then you're fine. If you are poor and you, let's say, you get a cancer, then you're probably in big trouble. I mean, in first-tier city, yes, we do have a um, average or decent healthcare system, but in some second or third-tier city, their welfare system is completely trash. So yeah, that's also why people are so materialistic in China, because they know if they don't have any money, they're gonna lose everything if they ever face some accident. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, and, you know, it can sound really bad that, you know, Chinese people are materialistic, but, you know, it is in the culture. Somebody pointed it out in the comment section that, you know, it's a really part of the culture, and you know, it is present. It presents itself more than it does in the Western cultures, and, you know, they kind of have a right to it, so they kind of earned it. That's what the comment says, and, you know, I actually have to agree with this.
I
Corey?
think I
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
So I think I agree, Simon, very much about this idea he brings up, because Chinese people feel insecure in the majority of the time because of the social security system has more or less problem, especially like medical system and education system, etc. Because in Sweden, they don't do a lot of like saving up also, but they do have like a free education system and medical system, so you don't have any worry about the retirement after you know you retired, and when you're living on the pension. In China, the pension isn't very enough for the older guy to cover their medical expenditures. So that's why you need to worry about your like later ages, so when you don't have a lot of ability to earn money. So that's why from very early ages, my parents asked me to saving up something. So this kind of psychological things always applies to the Chinese. Yeah. And go back to the why people buy like luxury things, etc. I think buy a Lamborghini car or Gucci bags. These kind of things mainly pointing to those like Fu二代, like second generation of the riches.
Yeah.
Be-
Yeah.
because they don't have any like dream to realize. They don't know how to spend the money in a correct way. Maybe to build up some company to make some good things to the country. I'm not I don't mean like everyone, but in the majority of the times they are just like spoiled children and living overseas, and they have like huge chunk of money in pocket. So that's why they spend the money in this or that, or even on girls. Yeah, so that's what I want to say.
Sure.
Corey, you can bring up your ideas.
Yeah, so I kind of want to say that I definitely agree with both of you, Simon, and you below me. I definitely agree with you. The social system thing is, I think that was one thing to me that was really shocking about China was that you see things in China that say like, oh, socialism this and socialism that, and then you realize that for Chinese people, the social systems are not very good. And a lot of the systems are contributed to Chinese people out of their own check, out of their own money. The housing funds and the medical funds and things. And then sometimes the restrictions on them are really extreme. Like maybe you can only take so much out of your housing fund, per month or whatever it may be, right? And maybe your medical fund, you can only spend so much at one time. And I think that's something that we really take for granted in the West, is how good a lot of times our social systems are. And I think that's one of the reasons that, pretty much everyone in China does have a job, right? Whether, even if it's just sweeping or something, doing some basic labor job, everyone in China seems to work, because the alternative is just, you would have nothing, right? That's pretty much what you would have. So I think it's an interesting concept, because it's something that we talk about in America, is that we should get less social systems. And I think a lot of Chinese people want, more social systems. They want more help, of course.
Yeah, about the medical system, I have a colleague who just passed away years ago, and he was diagnosed in China. He got a leukemia, and he was taking the medical system in Shanghai, and then he moved to Sweden, and he got his main like treatment in Sweden. And when I was like his last days, when I were there, he told me, Mike, here in Sweden, which he meant, they care about me like 24 hours every day, and he said I don't have to pay anything. It's all covered by the medical system in Sweden. And he said to me, I will donate all of my properties and savings in Sweden rather than move it back to China after I passed away. So this is show a very typical case how the people are treated in different countries, especially between Sweden and China.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, like, about healthcare. In England, in the UK, we also have the NHS, which is basically free healthcare, and people don't really appreciate it. They cheat the system. They use it for bad things, and they're always trying to find loopholes. And I don't think people realize how valuable it is to have free healthcare and to be able to go to the hospital with whatever problem you have, and get treatment for free. So I don't think people really understand and know how important this is in a society, that having healthcare to take care of you, basically, especially for free when it comes to like the price.
I have more things to talk. Sorry. In Shanghai now, because this is the richest city in China, we got those hospital, which is seems like the top hospitals of China. And now, if you want to have a reservation, and then depends on which depend on the level of the doctor you are going to see. They charge you differently. So if it's like a senior level like a doctor, then they charge you, now it can be up to 200 for the diagnostic. And if some just graduated doctor, you pay 40 RMB or something. See what I mean? They measure this in money, which is ridiculous. I even saw one doctor charge you 1,000 for a time. But this is every time when you go to the hospital, it's not like in the Western country, you got a very patient doctor talk to you like quite a long time to understand your situation. It's just a go in there, and they treat you like on the assembly lines and in the same method. And they ask you to do like those checks. Oh, you have to check, do a blood test or something. Then they bring back this kind of test, look at the data, and they just treat you in very same way. It's not like understand the certain patient, understand their situation, and give them proper treatment. That's another thing I want to bring up.
Absolutely. Just a little side note before we jump onto you, Corey. Simon received the super chat, so Simon, would you like to address that one? I mean, there's no comment to it, but yeah.
Kane Ray, do I pronounce his name right? Kane Ray. Thank you so much for your donation.
There you go. But yeah, Simon, you've been quiet, for a while. Do you want to share your opinion about things?
About the healthcare system in China?
Either healthcare, or we can take a U-turn and we can talk about the materialistic thing regarding healthcare.
Yeah, I think healthcare system in China is good and bad, I would say, because my mom, she's a doctor in China and in Shanghai. So I want to say, I think the good part of I can only talk about healthcare system in Shanghai, which is the place I live in. I know there's a huge difference in terms of healthcare system between cities in China. So in Shanghai, I would say, of course, we have the best healthcare system across our country. And I'm gonna say, in terms of like, if you get some small disease, or if you get a flu, or if you get some small things, it's okay when you go to a hospital in China. Actually, you don't pay a huge amount of money, because in China, doctor get very low payment compared to a lot of Western country. So just take an example. I would say a typical doctor, they usually make maybe 10,000 to 20,000 RMB per month. So each year they probably get like usually let's say 200,000 RMB. So which translate to US dollar, it's gonna be like 30,000 US dollar, which is nothing compared to the West, right? In the West, you probably can make $300,000 per year, or even like $1 million. So my point is that because of the low payment, usually if you get some like small disease, you don't have to pay a ridiculously amount of money. And also, Mike just mentioned like people treat patient very impatiently in China because a lot of time we only have limited resource here in China, especially in Shanghai. Those large hospital, they're not only treating patients around the city, but they are actually treating patients across the nation. A lot of places they don't have like those big hospitals, so they have to come all the way to Shanghai and to get their treatment over here. So take my mom as an example. Every day she has to take care maybe on a easy day maybe 80 patients, but on a busy day maybe more than 150 patients. So she don't actually have that luxury. They know she doesn't have enough time to be patient to every single patient. So that's the practical side. So it means in China we don't have enough doctors for our citizens, and I would say it's kind of like positive and negative. And also, if you get a very serious illness, like Mike just mentioned, if you got cancer or leukemia, then for sure it will cost you a huge amount of money. In Shanghai, a lot of treatment are taken care of by the social security system, but most of the time, a lot of treatment need to be self-sponsored because they are imported like treatment. You can get a basic treatment from the our national fund, but if you want to get like those like advanced treatment, usually you need to spend a lot of money. And also, I think China also impose a huge amount of tax on those imported drugs. I know in a lot of people they can't afford those imported medicine. In China, they have to fly to India or either go to Hong Kong or Taiwan to buy those medicine themselves and then bring them back to China.
Absolutely.
Like you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Mike because he was very eager to say something.
I think the medical system we can claim those like inpatient fee, like those expenditure, like man labors. But the material we are talking about, the materials and like the medicine and the material using in the surgery. Usually, if you want to get good material, it's imported from the U.S. So those things are very expensive.
Correct.
And
correct.
yeah, so.
And also, I want to bring up another thing that because the doctor is underpaid in China, so they have to find ways to generate their profit. So if you ever know some doctors, you will know like getting some sponsorship from those medical manufacturer. It's not a real thing. Okay, almost all doctors, if you have if you're in charge of like making prescription for a patient, then you will get some of the benefit from those medical companies, and that's very popular in China. It is also unfortunate because of the current situation. So yeah.
Yeah, but back to what Simon said, like his mother is very busy every day to see the patient. Yes, it is true because we got like this trust crisis upon on the medical system. You're always looking for guanxi to find some doctor that maybe they will treat you better. Yeah, this is true. And people only trust those like big hospital. We have like a tier system for the hospitals as well. Like in China, you got like 3 tiers are the most best hospital, and people from the other province always come to Shanghai to look for those medical organizations to get the treatment because they don't trust the local small hospitals, and that's why you got like tons of people in the famous well-known hospital rather than a small clinic in the local neighborhood. So that's another point.
Absolutely.
So I just want to add one more thing. So I saw somebody on my chat ask me, what kind of healthcare costs, what can be treated for free? Well, that's also a kind of difficult question and largely depends on, sometimes it even depends on what kind of company you work for. So it might sound ridiculous to you guys, but in China, if you work for some national companies and if you reach, if you work for certain type of institute from the government side, then if you reach to a certain point, you can actually get free healthcare, and it's not on record, So some of my grandparents' friends, they work in those institute, and yeah, the healthcare system won't be able to cover that, but the company they work for actually will spare some fund, some personal fund for their employees. So that's why a lot of people, they are willing to work for those national companies, even they don't look very attractive from the outside. You just do some very meaningless work or some very basic work, and you don't actually get paid a lot. I mean, if you look at it from the outside, but actually you get a certain type of benefit hidden, which is hidden, like people don't see it from the inside. So, and yeah, so that's basically it. Really depends on different cases. So for sure, if you are a high senior officials in China, then you will get the best treatment. Usually, you don't have to wait in the line.
Absolutely.
I know it sounds ridiculous when you spend your whole life in a tedious position is just for some occasional crisis happen in the future for yourself.
But
Maybe.
actually,
So before we drift off to another thing, sorry Simon to interrupt you.
yeah, no
I just
problem,
want to ask because
Yeah.
I have a question for Corey and he has something to say as well. So let's start with his opinion and what he has to say. Then I will ask him the question.
So my experience with Chinese in hospital in China was I went to a hospital that was not. I think a lot of cities have that main hospital that is maybe the really rich, the really nice hospital. I almost died in China, actually. And I actually went to a hospital that was not that main, very nice hospital. And the cost was very little, to be honest, but the quality was very, very little too. I was in the emergency room, and like, I don't want to sound like I'm taking a dump on China, but there was a guy smoking in the emergency room, and I have like oxygen in my nose, and there's like mold on the wall, and none of the doctors spoke any English, of course. And when you're that sick, you can't speak English as a foreigner. You're definitely not going to be speaking great Chinese. And so my wife was talking to them, and I was there for a week, and it was very cheap, but the quality was very poor. And they actually brought a doctor that spoke English from the main hospital once the American embassy, the consulate, had gotten involved. And he was great. He was awesome. He was, I can't say more good things about him. And then later on, after I had recovered and gotten better, I actually went to the main hospital in Guangzhou, the international hospital. And so I just kind of want to say, like, to any foreigners, or I mean, Chinese people obviously know this already. Like, to any foreigners, like, if you can go to the international hospital in your main city, like, go there. Don't go to like a small clinic, or don't go to like the the smaller hospitals, because if you're from the Western world, you might be severely let down. And as you know, Simon and Mikey down here said, it's largely because of the population, right? That's one thing. As a foreigner, when you go to China, the population, no matter where you're from, because like I live in Chicago, I've been to New York, I've been to every major city, and I lived in Tokyo for a while, and it was like to go to China was like eye-opening, and you realize that everything in China, even the medical situation, is a battle between population and quality. It's very difficult a lot of times. So yeah, any foreigner, like if you get sick, go to the main hospital, because it will be 10 times better usually in my experience.
Absolutely.
That's all I wanted to say.
So the question that I have for you, and I'm going to flip the coin basically. What are the three, like if you go to a hospital in America for any reason, can you get free treatment for anything? Is there a possibility to get free treatment for anything in America?
So yeah, if basically if you're a person that lives below the poverty threshold, you can usually get some kind of free healthcare, of course. If you live above the poverty threshold, which does kind of suck in America, there's some people that are like, I'm not doing too well, but they're not poor enough to, you know what I mean? And there's actually quite a few people in that position. If you have your insurance card and you have the money, like I have a savings and emergency fund, and if I have to go to the hospital, I will pay that deductible, I will pay that fee, and my healthcare will be great. It will be amazing. But if you're a person in poverty, and you're not poor enough, perhaps you're stuck in the middle. Whereas if I think in China, you're always going to get some kind of coverage. And that's not to say that in America that you won't get help, that you won't get coverage. You'll just get a big bill in the mail, basically, that you'll probably never be able to pay off. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, the NHS is completely free in the UK, and I think we have good healthcare, but obviously it's crippled because of the current situation and the mismanagement of the government. But that's another issue. I don't want to dive into this because it's not really involved in today's discussion. Anyway, there's a quick question here. Zach, what city are you in, and what city is Prime living in? And Simon, and might as well involve Mikey since he's here. Let me just quickly answer this one. So I'm gonna be the first one to answer because I love myself so much. I live in Jilin, which is northeast Jilin province. Corey lives in Chicago at the moment, like you said earlier. Simon is in Taiwan. I'm not sure which city are you in, Simon.
Taichung right now.
There you go. And Mikey is in Shanghai, as far as I'm concerned. Is that correct?
Yes.
There you go. There you go. Knowledge is power. All right. Now oh my God. Sorry, I need to address this question because it's so silly. I'm sorry, guys. I promise I won't, drift off topic anymore. Zach, would you fight Kirk for charity? So I think he's trying to set up a KSI Logan Paul thing here. I mean, I don't know. All right, let's go on to this one. Corey, would you do a charity fight with anyone from the China scene? Like a KSI Logan Paul kind of thing.
Not with Guelo 60, because he's like.
Let's not say names. Just keep just a yes and no. Would you fight anyone from the current China scene?
No,
for money.
I don't want to break an old man's hip, so no, I wouldn't.
It's just a fun question. So, Simon, would you do a charity fight with anyone from the China YouTuber scene?
Probably not. But if you get like very influential, I think then you may get some motivation to do certain type of silly thing. I think I know the KSI and Logan Paul, they probably can make millions or even like 100 millions of money or viewerships just based on that So yeah, I'm not being materialistic. You see.
Yeah, there you go. Mikey, what about you? Would you do a charity fight with anyone from the YouTuber scene?
Now, I do YouTube as a hobby, as I said. I mean, Quilosity or Kirk can raise maybe 2,000 USD for his birthday celebration. But this is not the purpose that we gathering here. So
Okay.
no.
Let me just add, my 2 cents to the end. I would definitely do it with someone. I'm not going to say names, but it would be good fun. It's a way to entertain people, and this is an entertainment like platform. We are here to entertain people and share opinions, and that's a sort of entertainment. So yeah. See, at least you guys have a sense of humor. I don't know. I like to think I'm a funny. Well, I can't say that word, but yeah.
I always thought I'm boring when I make videos because I'm not that kind of character. But
Yeah.
I'm happy to see Corey's videos. Very entertaining.
Now, I guess so. Lauren says, "What is the purpose of this gathering?" So yeah, we're kind of drifting off topic. So sorry, guys. Let's jump back into the main topic. So, about materialism in China, is it going to change in the future? Do you think? Is there going to be a change regarding materialism in China? What is the reason that might change it? Is it like an influence from the government or an influence from the outside, or people just gonna simply turn around and be like, from now on we don't want Ferraris and we don't want money, we don't want anything, we're gonna live on the countryside and we're gonna build dirt houses from now on? Is there a possibility that this is gonna change?
I can go first. I think it is possible to change overnight because as you can look back to the history, before the 80s, we were not that materialistic. But when the government decided to open up our country, it's like suddenly everyone is chasing that. But so if some like top decision making to go back to like the old time, maybe it will happen overnight. So this is my opinion.
Absolutely. Corey, what do you think? Is there an opportunity, or is there a reason why this is going to change?
I think that it's something that if it happens, will happen because of natural progression of people. As an example, even though China has its long history, the government is still very new, and countries like America and the UK, our governments have actually been around longer than China, and so our people have socially progressed further than a lot of people in China actually. And I think that at one time in America, it's definitely had its same thing where a lot of people now seem to care less about a lot of that stuff. You can actually live next door to a person that's very rich and you would never know that they're rich, right? It's very common in America. So if I think it happens in China, I think it will happen because of natural progression. But the thing that Mikey said is that if the government wants to decide to do something in China, they will definitely do it, right? And they will definitely make that change. But I don't see that happening because I think that it's a positive thing in the eyes of Chinese people and the outside world to look and see that Chinese people are driving nice cars, that Chinese people have nice things. So I don't think that they're going to change, because I think it's unfortunately a very good propaganda piece to say, hey, look, we've pulled all of these people out of poverty, and everyone can afford Starbucks now. So that's the way I feel about it.
Simon, anything to add to this one?
So I think I will agree with Prime in China. I will agree with Corey because I would say, yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, the legitimacy the government have is solely based on materialism. Like I mentioned before, right? economic achievement, all those public infrastructure. Whenever you talk about some bad thing about China, they always use that as a shield to try to deflect all the problems. So, and currently they haven't figured out another way to prove their legitimacy. So I would say in the foreseeable future, the government still will use materialism as a way to, how to say, to protect their legitimacy. So, I mean, if we don't have legitimacy, what else do we have, right? I mean, if everybody focus on morality instead of materialism, then instability will happen in China. That's a very sad situation. So, but I do agree with Corey that, generally speaking, like the natural progression also proved that when people get money, they want more. They want more spiritual stuff. We want to be able to write our own article. We want to have a certain degree of freedom. Average people want to be able to make decisions for their future instead of being told by anyone else, right? So I think it will happen to especially a lot of young people when they got money and they want looking for change. But I think from the government side, I don't think they are looking for that change because they are pretty satisfied what they have achieved in the past 30 years, and they want to keep to do the same thing in the future, just based on what happened around us. You can actually tell or get some hint from what they actually have done in the past 2 or 3 years, right? And if you check all those major events, everything is correlated with what they want to do in the future. So I'm gonna say materialism will still stay the same, and unfortunately, that is just what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have to agree with you guys, and just my my 2 cents in the end. Obviously, there needs to be a balance between being materialistic and being spiritual, if you would like to call it that. So, but it's difficult. It's difficult because, like you said, people that have money, they want more money. People that have a Ferrari want another Ferrari. People that have an iPhone want a second iPhone. So, it's also being greedy, and greed is something that's infected. I wouldn't say all the generations that we currently have, but maybe our generation and the next generation is gonna be infected with this greedy attitude and materialistic mindset. So maybe it's going to take a couple of generations until we see some significant change. I kind of have to disagree with Mike about things can change immediately. I think this is a slow process, but that's just my opinion. So you're entitled to your own, but in my opinion, this is going to be a long journey for change. This is going to be the last question that we're gonna pull up because we are reaching the 2-hour mark, and as we said, we are planning 2 hours tops. So Froggy asked an interesting question. Do you think that the money as culture has hurt traditional Chinese culture? And that is a very historical question. So any history teachers here, Chinese history teachers, that can elaborate on Chinese history or predict the future? Do you think money as culture has hurt the traditional Chinese culture? Is there an influence on Chinese culture from the past? Anyone wants to go first on this one?
Very simple answer. It's very sensitive. I don't think money hurts the culture of the traditional Chinese culture. It's the communism and the Marxism hurts the traditional Chinese culture.
So let me ask you a question there. So China got robbed several times in history, and they tried to colonize China, and they took, artifacts and artwork and money and valuables from China over time in the past. Do you think that had an influence on China when it comes to materialism? Do you think that because of that, Chinese people and Chinese culture is more materialistic because they are trying to get those things back? Is
I
that a
think
reason behind it?
from the history, the traditional Chinese culture was attacked by the Mongols at the first during the Yuan dynasty. Then later on, it was the Qing dynasty. The Manchurian came to the central area of China, and it hurts the traditional Chinese Han culture. And I don't think the colonial period has some kind of hurt or wipe out our traditional Chinese culture. So I'm not very good at history, but this is what I understand at least.
Yeah, I think actually money is part of the Chinese tradition. Our parents' generation try to collect wealth, and they tend to save those wealth for their future generation. So I agree with Mikey. I don't think money actually break Chinese tradition, but instead, like communism or those Marxism, they don't actually belong to Chinese culture, and especially during the Cultural Revolution era, that's where Chinese traditional culture got totally destroyed. So I think I can answer one of your question you asked me before, what's the difference between people from mainland China and Taiwan? That is, in Taiwan, I can actually see the traditional culture we have been taught in those Chinese textbook from our history lesson, but you can't actually find it in China anymore. But they largely preserve it in Taiwan. So that's one of the big issue.
Absolutely. Corey, anything to add?
Yeah, as someone that lived in Japan and spent time in Japan, I really was amazed how well they mixed their culture and how they mixed their daily life and moving into the future. And that's one thing that I had really noticed about Taiwan was Taiwan is really good at that too. Taiwan has managed to keep that culture, and I was really shocked the first time I went to Taiwan because I was like, this is more China than China. I was like, when I first came to China, that's what I expected. I expected all those really cool, taken care of temples. And then I walked into China and there were these huge buildings. I was like, where's all the temples and all those parks that, Guilo 60 loves so much. And, and then eventually they built those parks. But, I was amazed when I went to Taiwan because I was like, there's just so much culture in Taiwan. And maybe it'll make some people angry. But I think if you're one of those people that are searching for Chinese culture, I think you should go to Taiwan. I think if you want to see technology and future and that type of stuff, I think mainland China is great for that type of stuff. And I do think, without going too much into detail, because I do realize that two of you guys are in China. Yes, I agree. I think that Big Brother has had a big part in throwing a lot of that away and getting rid of it because it wanted to create its own culture, right? And that is the culture that it's going to portray. As far as money, being in China, I think yes, but I think that sometimes as a Western perspective, we look at that negatively too. Whereas if I think like a Hongbao or something, even though it's money, it's not, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily greedy, that you're necessarily materialistic. A lot of people, will just give Hongbao away for the holiday and it'll be one or two. It's not here's 6,000 renminbi. That's, it doesn't happen that way. So I think that it is a part of the culture, and I don't necessarily think that it's all bad, right? I think sometimes it's just good fun. So
I think now we preserve those small things like zongzi and eating like a little bit zongzi, like a dragon boat and these kind of
Like
things, or
Chinese
lantern that you
dumpling,
yeah. But we lost the main part of our culture. If you want to see those real, I think Japan derived the very like similar Han Chinese culture, and they did some like a modification localization for themselves. But I mean, if you want to see those architectures and the gardening and those beautiful things, those things are derived or partially from the Han or Tang dynasty. So I don't think we preserved our history in a very good way, and not too many people realized that, and they still think they are the authentic descendant of the dragon, which is ridiculous.
So Simon, you pulled up a comment here in our private chat. Before we jump into that one, and I promise that's going to be the last one, because we really need to, finish up this stream. As much as I would love to do this for another hour, unfortunately, some of us have other things to do. Now, Freestyler39 says, Zach, please tell Simon that I love his videos. There you go, double thumbs up. But
Thanks,
he can't keep calling himself an average Chinese guy when he's married to a Taiwanese wife. So now you are not, an average Chinese guy. You're an average Taiwanese guy. Is that a thing? Is that okay to say?
I don't think so. I still consider I am ordinary Chinese. Still, even I have a maybe a different experience from many other Chinese living in China, but still, I would say because I received all my education before graduate school in China, and I lived in China so long, so I still consider I'm an ordinary Chinese student, and I also want to represent those Chinese who are share the same value as me, but they can't share their views in China. I think I would like to speak up for them. So yeah, I am an ordinary Chinese dude, and I think Mike will also agree with me. Yeah. So.
All right, so let's quickly run through the comments. So I really appreciate this honest and open discussion. Yeah, that's what we're all about. We don't discriminate. We don't have any problem. Simon, you're so handsome. Yeah, he is the most handsome out of all of us. Yeah.
Thanks for the comment.
This is how real communication happens between East and the West. Fact. All right, so the last question for today, and so sorry about this, guys. Whoever's watching on whatever channel, this is going to be the last question for today, because we have other things to do. In the future, probably next week. I'm going to put this out right here. Maybe next week we can do another one, if you guys feel like it, because it seems like people like it. And maybe we can have another person on. People requested to have China Bill. People requested to have Serpent Zade or Laowai 86. I think they are a bit too big for us. I'm sorry. I think they're a bit too big for us. But maybe Corey can hook us up, because he knows them. So you never know. I think it is a possibility that next week we're going to have another one. I think it's up to you guys. I'm very happy to host it again. The stream is here. I'm very happy to do the comments and everything. And next week we can fix it up, and we can actually have all the comments show up, because I just figured out what the problem is and why we can't see it. So we can definitely figure that one out if you guys feel up for it. But for now, let's jump into that last question, because we are running out of time. Is the cause of materialism the lack of a religious base to the culture? And that is a good cliffhanger, I think, to finish this show on. Mike, would you like to go first on this one?
It's too difficult. Maybe
it's too
Corey.
difficult. No. So, Corey?
Maybe Simon or Corey.
Or Corey, yeah, Simon or Corey.
So I'll start by saying that I'm an atheist, and I think religion is like, right? I don't believe it, but I think it's interesting in Western society how religion has shaped our society. Even if we don't believe, like it is still shaped our society. Certain beliefs, certain ideas, certain things are kind of universal in the whole world. Like, you know, like you shouldn't kill people. I think everyone knows that pretty much. But I think that there are some ideas and things that I've noticed as a Westerner that maybe for some Chinese people, not all Chinese people, you know, it's like a thing of you know, just because someone else did something doesn't mean that you should do it too. You know, and some of those types of things that we've learned in the West, maybe from religion, doesn't exist in China. And actually, that was one thing that I thought was very interesting about China when I first went there, was because for me, like I said, I dislike religion, you know. So I went to China and found out that maybe people were more spiritual, I guess you would say, right, than religious per se. And I found spiritually China was great in that way. But religiously, you know, it's difficult to be super religious in China, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. Simon, would you like to, you know, share your opinion on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the degree of, I mean, materialism exists everywhere in the world, but the level of materialism we have in China is probably way higher than a lot of religious country or area. Especially, we talk about the positive side of materialism, but today we don't have enough time to talk about the negative side of materialism, right? So actually, traditionally in China, we do have like Buddhism, we have Taoism. So traditionally people in China believe those, like it's called 因果报应. They believe the cause and also what kind of things, what you do will reflect what you will have in the future. We also traditionally Chinese people also believe in afterlife. So if you ever come to Taiwan, you know, like my family from my wife's side, they all believe those kind of things. So they will say, hey, you shouldn't do a certain type of thing A, B, C, because it will affect you in the future. And also if you ever have an afterlife, and or if you have another life after this one, then the things you do in this life will cause something. If you do some negative thing, then it will cause some bad luck in your future life. So people believe in that kind of like 因果报应 is in Chinese. I don't know how to translate it in English, but in China we don't have that anymore. I mean, we still have it, but just majority of people don't believe it anymore. So that's why people will do all kind of thing to achieve successfulness in China. So just like 2 or 3 months ago, there's a coffee shop chain company called Luckin, which is basically the Chinese Starbucks. They just make up their own revenue in order to go list on the American market, right? Also, we have those fake vaccine, fake milk powder. It is just due to the materialism and the lack of religion we have. So yeah, I want to say those two things definitely correlate with each other.
Absolutely. Mikey?
Once again, just a short answer. I think religion, like Taoism and Buddhism, now it goes too very fluffy on the surface of the belief system itself. I visit a lot of temples. People just go there, burning the incense and burning a candle and put it somewhere, pray for fortune or good luck for their life. But they do not focus on the main part, which is the spiritual part and the belief and the inner build or anything else. This is the downside when so much traditional Chinese culture were wiped out during the disaster 10 years decade, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I can't really add anything to it because you guys said, all the things. Like Corey started with his thing, and I was like, okay, now I'm gonna say what Simon actually said, and I think Mike got trapped in this as well. That it's he ended up talking about the spiritual thing. So yeah, I can only agree with you guys, and yeah, I think that is it for today. One more comment from Freestyler39. I must say, British guys make the best moderators.
Yes, you are.
I'm trying. Anyway, excuse me. Anyway, so do you guys want to plug your channels one more time? Corey, do you want to plug yourself one more time on the stream so people can find you and subscribe to you?
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, Prime in China is my channel. Most of the content is me talking about propaganda from shills, as you would call them, here on YouTube, and just me debunking it. Sometimes funny, sometimes not. Please check me out. I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Simon?
Thanks for tuning in today. And I'm just an ordinary Chinese dude. Sometimes will post my honest opinion and my real experience about China. And sometimes I just do some average vlog. And yeah.
Awesome. Mikey?
Yes, I want to thank you all the audience, and my channel is now focusing on the Chinese topic, and for sure in the future I will do the same. I'm going to do several days conquering the Wu Kingdom vlog things in the near future this summer, but I'm not going to fully focus on China topic. Maybe in the future I'll travel back to the Europe, and I'll travel around Europe and do a comparison to between Europe and China as well. So my topic will not only limited on China topic, but this is the main focus that I'm doing, at least for the near future. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. All right. So as the moderator, the British moderator, let me plug myself last. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, you can find my channel. Sorry, I'm getting the corona because I'm sitting next to Corey and I'm not social distancing. Excuse me. So yeah, you can find my channel. It's called Zach P. You're gonna see a very, very handsome guy in a red jacket as my logo. That's me. You can click on my channel. I have about 650 subscribers right now. So feel free to come over to my channel. I do videos about China. I live in Northeast in Jilin. So I do most of my videos here, and I show what my life is. And sometimes I talk about, interesting things and, just general things in China, like, for example, how to spend your money, what kind of holiday you can have, and all of these things. So if you want, a regular, ordinary British guy talking about China, feel free to join the gang and, check it out. As for the stream, I thank you, every single one of you, for joining us. It was a very, very fun one. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully, we can do this next week. I would be very happy to do it. Corey, how do you feel about probably next week? Would you be interested?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Simon, how do you think? What does your audience think? How is this stream received? Do they like it? Do they dislike it? Do they hate you now?
I don't know. I think everybody likes me. So yeah.
Because you're handsome.
Yeah, I think if I don't have anything else to do with my wife, I think I can tune in and do a live stream with all of you guys.
Awesome. Mikey, any plans for next weekend maybe?
Yes, if my wife doesn't.
Now you see we have a new topic, like Chinese students are mainly governed by their wives.
Yeah,
but
it's not the government that governs us, it's the wives.
Yeah, but I'll make it as possible as I can, so no worries.
All right, there you go. There's one more thing. Lola Fali is live right now. I just wanted to put this one up. Guys, go over to that channel. He is awesome. I love his channel so much. That's as far as we can go with him, unfortunately. I tried to have him on one of my live streams, but we ran into some issues regarding censorship and things like that. So unfortunately, I don't think he is going to be a guest on our show, but I will talk to him because I do have him on a few sites, and we can probably, come up with a solution for this issue. But for now, that is it for today, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching tonight. Well, it depends where you are. Today's live stream, I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure that you subscribe to all the channels, like all the videos, leave a comment, leave a like, share the videos and all those things. And we will see you guys next week, hopefully. Goodbye.
Yeah, see you guys.